Welcome back to the Third Gen Workshop, everyone. If you like our videos, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. Today's video is all about installing our new UMI Performance tubular lower control arms and reinstalling the coil springs on a third gen Camaro or Firebird. In our previous video, we installed our new aftermarket Tubular K-Member. The installation process for reinstalling the control arm is the same regardless if it's the aftermarket or the factory K-Member. These new control arms provide a lot more rigidity than the factory stamped steel, which will improve your overall handling and performance of the car. On to the video. From UMI Performance on our Tubular K-Member that we installed in the previous video. As I mentioned in the previous video, these lower control arms from UMI, you can get them in a couple different flavors. I chose the K-Member kit and with control arms that have the factory coil spring locations. I'm going to go with standard struts and Elbach lowering springs, which I already had on the car before I did all this stuff. The nice thing is it doesn't add a ton of weight to go with this setup versus the hollow A-arms that doesn't have any of this in here if you're running coilovers. I plan to run coilovers down the road, but that's a future upgrade. So for now, we'll take the extra couple pounds that the upper mounts and these lower mounts add onto the car. Just a reminder from UMI, when you buy the kit, you get new bolts for your control arms. So you don't have to reuse the factory ones. We're going to install the right side or passenger side first. The long bolt from UMI goes in the front. The shorter bolt goes in the back. All right, once you slide the control arm in, your holes are lined up. Slide your first bolt through, and then slide your second bolt through. Put your washer, your nut on, start threading it. We're going to get everything installed and tightened down. Again, just nice and snug. We'll probably have to replace these lock washers, these nylon the nylon nuts when we put the car back together for the final time, because they do stretch with repeated use. So we'll tighten everything down. The next part will be to take the cotter pin and nut off the ball joint to get prepped for putting the spring and everything in place. Control arm on the left or the driver's side. There we go. The driver's side is installed. Again, we have not torqued it to settings. They're just nice and snug, so I can get the suspension back together to get everything assembled so I can roll it out of here to the body shop. For the factory springs, now I'm using a lowering spring by Elbach. We still need a spring compressor to compress these springs because they're still way too stiff to safely put in place and then jack into place using traditional methods that a lot of people use, like with floor jacks. We are going to use a floor jack. We're just going to compress these springs significantly first. So we're going to use these springs, and then this style spring compressor. This fork will go at the top where it'll fit on here like this in the spring, and then these bottom parts will go towards the bottom of the spring, and we will literally pull it down. The reason we're going in this configuration with this at the top part of the spring is because this screw shaft is going to end up poking down through the bottom of our lower control arm. A lot of people will do this reverse, but in my particular car, there's no hole at the top for this to go through to guide it up. So we're going to go from the top down. It'll give us the same results, and it'll make it a lot easier to take apart when it's in place. Let me show you what I've got here. I've got the longer of the forks on the bottom, the shorter of the forks one up, and then I've got the pickle fork portion of this, 1.5 down from the top. Now I'm just going to use my 3/4 inch wrench or socket to compress these springs. A lot of folks will use a air gun at this point, which I will as well. So I'm going to go get this compressed, and then I'll show you a picture of it. It looks like when it's done. So for comparison, these are both front springs. The one on the top I have compressed with the coil spring compressor tool, and the one in the back here is, obviously uncompressed. And you can see these are lined up. The bottom spring is lined up with the bottom on the other one, and I've compressed it almost 2.5 full coils. Again, you can see on this front one the rubber boot that's on it. The previous owner, he used zip ties to secure it to the top. This rubber boot will fit right up into that upper coil spring mount, and it won't slide out. So I'll be clipping that off and putting it on the other side when we go to do the right side, or the, I'm sorry. Starting on the driver's side, lower control arm, to install the spring assembly and the ball joint back into the spindle here. Just like I showed you on the other side, spring compressor, we have the spring significantly compressed. We're going to start by installing the top of the spring and indexing the bottom. So as we bring the control arm up, we'll use this pry bar to get everything in place as we use the jack to jack everything up into place. So the index on the driver's side is to the rear versus the passenger side, which is to the front. So we're going to index the spring to the back, and we'll get it mostly lined up when we put it up into the top, and then we'll bring the control arm up to match. Go ahead and take off your nut and your cotter pin at this point. spring is in. Just gotta crank up a little bit more on the ball joint. But everything's indexed properly. The only thing that's left is to take out the compression tool. Wanted to show you the final install of the coil springs and the lower control arms. Yes, I know I need to put grease yet in my ball joints. That'll happen here in a little bit. But everything's installed. Everything is indexed properly. Same on the driver's side. You can see the springs indexed properly on the control arm and on this one as well. And up top. Thank you again for joining us here at Third Gen Workshop. If you like this video and want notifications of future releases, please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have a great day.